Carl, please tell us about yourself and your.
Well, I grew up in northern Ontario in a country setting, and I moved to Toronto, which is the biggest city in Canada, when I was about 18 or 19 to pursue my career in architecture. And then sometime shortly after that, I moved to the Netherlands to kind of reconnect with some of my family there. But that was the first real time I got to travel outside of Toronto or even like the small country that I grew up in. So going to Holland and Europe in general was just a huge eye-opening experience for me and completely changed my perspective about what architecture could be.
That's great. So, what has been your background so far, and how did you venture into design media?
Well, I'm a licensed architect here in Ontario, Canada. I've always had a passion for design and sustainability, and I think I started Avontuura kind of out of a whim, really. I was actually traveling through Chicago, and I was visiting the University of Chicago there, and I stumbled upon this really cool looking glass dome, and I didn't really know anything about it, but it was just this kind of like hopped a barrier and trespassed, if I'm being honest. But when I got inside, it was just this incredible experience. I'm like, and usually when I'm traveling to cities, I do a lot of homework trying to figure out, what I should see. Just being a good architect that way. And I was kind of upset with myself that I had never seen this or heard of this building before. And I kind of did some homework after and found out it was, I think it's the Joe and Rita Library by Helmut Jahn, who was an accomplished German and American architect. And it got me in such a mood that it kind of made me thinking, well, look, I love to travel, I love architecture, but there wasn't really a good kind of source out there for people like me that just wanted to see interesting architecture beyond like the Louvre or the Pyramid or anything like that you would see in like a more conventional travel guide. I would usually like look at other websites like ArcDaily or what have you, or Google search it. I would spend like hours just searching. And so I just had this idea. I'm like, okay, well, let's maybe create some kind of consolidated place where if people are traveling to a city, they're interested in about like architecture at the kind of professional level, these are the buildings that you may be interested or want to see. So it kind of started out there as an idea. I didn't really have any experience in blogging or anything like that. I just kind of did it. And the first couple months, I only got like 2 or 3 visitors, which is a very humbling experience. But yeah, it's a good way to kind of start out and grow naturally, I guess.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, which year did you start it?
It started in 2000.
Oh, that's great.
It's been about 6 years now.
That's great. So, what has been your vision like for your blog?
Well, the vision has always been about sharing architecture from around the world that I think is interesting and presenting in a way that if people also were traveling or have the travel bug or just interested in architecture from around the world, but this is a place that they could go and be part of a larger global community, I guess.
That's great. So now you seem to have diversified from just travel content to other sorts of architectural projects as well, right? So please, can you tell us about the kind of content that gets featured on your blog?
Yeah, we try and do like a good mix of work. We try not to focus on like one region. Like it's really easy just to show great European projects, but it kind of does a disservice to the rest of the world that's also doing good stuff. So we try and come up with like a good medium of work from around the world. At the foremost thing, it has to be good. It has to be really good design and it should be inspiring, whether it be the design or like from a social or environmental perspective. We like something with a story behind it and trying to focus on work all over the world again so that we get a good broad collection of projects.
That's great. So, how can architects and designers get featured on your blog?
Well, you just have to reach out and submit. We get lots of inquiries, and we try and respond to everyone. Even if someone isn't successful, we at least give an honest answer why so that they kind of know the reason. A lot of the time, we get work just in niches that we don't typically feature, like retail or interior design, unless it's like extremely high profile, because we tend to profile work that people can visit or see, or at least be inspired by. Like we do a lot of houses which people can't go to, but a lot of people always have that dream of owning a home on the rocks of Norway or in some desert or remote location. So it's usually a combination of public buildings that people can visit mixed with inspiring like homes and getaways and things like that. So if people are interested in publishing, just reach out. Our email submissions at Avontuura. I said we respond to every application. We look at everything, but at the front of it, it has to look good. It has to have a good story. And that's about it. We really try and keep a high bar in terms of the work we publish. We try not to kind of go too broad in that sense. So we're very selective.
That's great. So, since the time you started, Carl, so how have you seen the media landscape changing? And is there any change in the way architects approach you or in the way that you source projects?
The thing I'm seeing is that design for design's sake isn't enough. The projects that are getting seen and having the most success are ones that tackle bigger issues, whether they are social or environmental. There's something more. Like we're kind of, as an industry and society, moving away from the architect with this grand vision and this beautiful form, but doesn't really do anything for the people that live there or address the climate crisis or anything like that. So for us personally, we just reject work outright if it's a good looking building, but it doesn't do anything else. We've recently rejected a building that looked great, but it was just made in concrete and nothing else. And we all know concrete is terrible for the planet in terms of embodied carbon. So it's having a good design isn't enough. It has to tell a story and do good. And we want to share that kind of message as well.
That's great. So, do you generally receive submissions from designers and PR companies both? And if so, what are the challenges that you face when dealing with each of them?
Yeah, we get our content in all different ways. We connect with PR companies, we get submissions from individual people. A lot of larger firms that are high profile prefer that you reach out to them on a project by basis because that way they can kind of track who's publishing. So we got our work a whole myriad of different ways. I forgot your original question. Sorry.
Yeah, so my question was, so what are the challenges that you face when dealing with PR firms or architects?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest challenge we have is just that everyone wants to get published. So you have to stay strong to who you are and the work that you want to feature and not burn bridges because just because one project may not look good or be the right fit doesn't mean that the next one won't. So a lot of it is just about being polite, respectful of everyone's time and work that they've put into their projects, and knowing that even if you say no now, it's not no forever. We've rejected a lot of work from people in the past and then gone back to publish it on future work, and it keeps things honest. We tell people why. A lot of the times, like photography is just bad, and like it could be a really nice project, but if it's like a grainy image or all of the shots are in portrait, that doesn't really lend itself to like web use. So we are pretty honest with people in that respect, and just we find that that's the best way of navigating it because you're always going to have people that always want to get published and are persistent and have their own ideas about like what is good design and things like that. So it's just being honest and open with people and having a conversation. Yeah, I think when you do that, it's easy.
With you. So, from an architect's perspective, what is the ideal number of follow-ups that architects should go for when they're getting their work featured?
I'm usually okay with one or two. Like I'm pretty sure other companies just don't respond if they choose not to review their work. We don't like that. We kind of like the community aspect of engaging with people because you never know what that next project might be. And it's just being a good human being and meeting people from around the world with different perspectives. So I think I think it's really just about connecting with people and being honest with
Right. So, do you have certain monthly themes that you follow for your content, or do you publish like the same kind of content all through the year?
We kind of publish all of the same content throughout the year, although if there are specific events like the World Cup or soccer or something like that, then we may have like specific features that are catered to that. But our big months are like the travel months, like March through August, September, when people are traveling. So we do try and push out a lot of content that is related to travel in those months. And then not rely, but focus more on like a lot of daily features and things like that throughout the year and then like the off travel months.
Right. So, if you could like pinpoint 3 to 5 points about what makes a project feature worthy, what would those points be?
Good design, good story, good photography. Video content is huge. If we can share it on our YouTube page, that's a bonus. And honestly, organized submissions. We get a lot of submissions that even from really big reputable firms that are just messy. So what might take like an hour to put something together, in this case might take 4 or 5. It might not be worth it unless it's like extremely good, just based on the kind of time it takes to filter through images, clean up text. Like sometimes we'll get submissions with over 100 photos, and that's not practical, and they'll all be like high res. So you have to kind of filter through them, figure out like what's good, what we want to share, and then like get the web format correct. It can be a mess. So we've turned down like good work that is just a disaster once you receive it. So I think that was 5. But yeah, I think make our job easy, do good work, take good photos, I think is the crux of it.
That's true. So, what trends do you see in design media? What are the upcoming trends?
Oh, this is a hard one. I honestly don't spend a lot of time on other websites because I feel like that kind of saturates your own thinking about what you do. Generally, like we exclusively focus on design work that's like either again public or inspiring and has like a social or environmental kind of component to it. We want to tell good stories and about things that are doing in like communities or like how a building could be like contributing to a positive outlook on the environment. So I think broadly speaking, that's, what I'm saying is probably close to what a lot of other media companies are looking at too in terms of trends and features. But that's something we take a pretty hard line on specifically and just reject work outright or just pay no attention or feature for work that doesn't really kind of adhere to those kind of larger values.
Right. So, moving on to the last segment. So, what advice do you have for people who are interested in working in architecture, media, and journalism?
Find out what you like and just do it. Before I started Avontuura, I was having that kind of not existential moment, but like okay, I'm like 20 something old. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I'm like, okay, well, I love architecture. I love travel. What if I just started blogging about it? And again, like first few months, I only got 2 or 3 visitors and asking other companies for work, even though like you feel like you've just started out and you're nothing. You just do it. Nobody knows or nobody's following whatever anyone else is doing. Just go do it. Be passionate about it. Show that passion and don't give up. Really, I think it's with a lot of things with life. If you love something, you're passionate about it, you just have to be persistent and show passion and you can do it. I have no media background at all. I'm an architect. My background is architecture and frankly, a lot of parts of the blog could use with more input from, let's say, like more professional media people, but you just do what's right for you and what you think is right for your blog and honestly the rest will turn out okay.
That's great. That's great advice. So, what skills do you think, if you're looking for people, what skills they must possess in order for you to hire them, or for people who are really passionate about working in this field?
Yeah, I think you have to have a passion for architecture first and foremost. You have to have good writing skills and you really need to be able to connect with people because everyone has a different story and a different perspective. And I think those are the three. And if you've got the passion, you've got the experience in writing, you can speak to people. Those are three really important skills.
That's great. So, that concludes our interview. So, it was really wonderful speaking to you, Carl. Thank you for your time.
Sounds good. Thanks very much for your time as well.
All right. Bye, Carl. Thank you.
Bye.